Man, we're fired up today. I don't know why, but it's probably just because that I've been, low key on Instagram hyping up a very special guest for our show. But I mean, no big deal. His name's only Jackson Groff from the Groff Show and 3 and Out podcast from the Volume. But I mean, why not, right? So we're pumped to have him today. We're fired up for college football this weekend. Beautiful, I guess, rainy Thursday evening, afternoon here in central Illinois for us. But we're ready to rock and roll. Week 2, we're fired up, and we're ready to rock and roll with Pigskin Frenzy. Welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris. Whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Podbean, or Apple, guys, a big thank you for tuning in and taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by us. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. Just share around with those and follow on there as well. X and Instagram, you know me, at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow, like the pages there. There's also the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Guys, we are pumping out episodes after episode, and we're getting so many listeners now, guys. 5,300 and counting. We're still building, and we're still stacking. A big thank you for tuning in each and every week, and we're so thankful for the Lord, because without the Lord and Savior Jesus, we would not be here doing this show and not be in this space. So we're so thankful for him and for landing a special guest, and we have a very special guest here with us. His name is Jackson Groff, host of the Groff Show and producer of Colin Cowherd's The Volumes, 3 and Out podcast by John MiddleKauff. Jackson Groff, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy. How are you doing,
I appreciate the invite and the welcome, the intro. I was telling you, when you emailed me, first podcast I've ever been on, first interview I've ever done. So I'm thrilled and I'm honored to be doing this, man. It's always great to, be on with another believer in college football, someone that's, loves the game and loves the Lord and stuff. So I'm excited to talk, all things, man. We were just talking before. It's surreal that we're finally here. We're on week 2. September is going to fly by. Then you got October, November, December, January, and then football's done. So got to take advantage of it, man. I'm excited to talk ball and just talk life, man. Appreciate the invite and looking forward to it.
And I was telling you before we, hit record and get on air, I was surprised that no one's invited you on another show. Like, to me, because I was like, guys, I was looking at Jackson Groff on Instagram, and I was thinking his story is so inspiring, listening to him. And not only that, just looking at how he does his content, look how he does his shows. He's on look, guys, he's on John MiddleKauff's show, 3 and Out, presented by the Volume, guys. How can you not invite him?
Don't hype me up too much, man. But yeah, no, it's been a crazy story, and obviously, we'll get into it throughout, and I'm excited to, hopefully inspire people. That's all you really want to do. Like, the more, higher you get, or whatever you want to call it. I just been always kind of just loving what I've been doing, and the Lord's been good, and I'm excited to talk my story and hopefully inspire somebody out there.
Absolutely, man. So before we get into getting into football media and just talking about your story in general, what's your life outside of football media? I ask a lot of people this, but who is Jackson Groff outside of this?
Yeah, so born and raised in Arizona. Grew up in Peoria, Arizona, which is just northwest of Phoenix. I live in Scottsdale currently. Just a guy, my whole life just fell in love with football off rip. Probably when I was 4 or 5 years old. Just loved the game. Loved watching NFL Network, Rich Eisen, SVP. I was one of those kind of nerds growing up that I have a twin sister, and she used to get pissed at me because I would want to watch NFL Network and ESPN or SportsCenter or whatever, and she wanted to watch Barbie or some girly shows, growing up. So that was always fun having a twin sister that hated, didn't hate watching football, but she definitely wanted to watch other things. So grew up from a young age writing down sports stats or writing down what was going on, because my dad worked so many hours growing up that he couldn't really focus on sports or football going on. So I'd write notes, fell in love with played football, my whole life. I would record my stats, interview myself in the shower. I always, ever since I was little, that's what I was so blessed by God is I always wanted to talk sports for a living. I just didn't know what it was. So I progressed, lived in Arizona, grew up in a private school. And then I had 2 dreams growing up. It was to go to Division I playing football. And then it was to become a sports broadcaster one day. And then growing up in football, kind of had that chip on my shoulder. Was this 5'10" wide receiver. Didn't really get a whole lot of looks. Out of high school, I think I had one offer from Franklin Pierce University. It was a Division II, Division I school. I think they're Division I now. But that was it. I didn't even have NAU. They were interested. They didn't offer me. Arizona Christian, like all these NAIA schools. No one really wanted to touch me, and I wanted to go to Notre Dame. I was telling you, I want to go to Notre Dame. Like that's my favorite team. That's my dream school. I went to like a sophomore camp my sophomore year, and my dad was like, "Hey, you're not good enough for Notre Dame," which is okay. Like sometimes the truth hurts, but found my way. Lord is good, and was able to walk on at Montana, and that story itself is crazy. I mean, I got interest my junior year. Went to a camp my junior year. The coaches were interested in me in potentially walking on. Senior year happens. After senior year, the whole coaching staff gets fired. So you kind of have to revamp. You got to, get new connections, get new relationships with the coaches. They said the roster was full. So unfortunately, this was like going into my senior year spring, about to graduate, don't have a home. But for some reason, God kept tugging at my heart like, hey, you got to go to Montana. Hey, you're going to go to Montana. You're going to play there. So my sister and I, we got in Montana, obviously it's expensive to get out-of-state tuition. So we decided my parents to get a residency a year early my junior year. About my junior year, I knew I wanted to go to Montana without even having a spot there. So my senior year, we moved down there. And I get an email out of the blue from the athletic trainer saying, hey, like we have you for a physical in 2 weeks. Come check in for physical. We need you to take a physical. I'm like, well, why do I need to take a physical? I'm not even on the team, but I'm like on the roster apparently, which was confusing. So fast forward 2 weeks later, I go down to the athletic department and I'm about to take a physical. I'm like, hey, like I'm on this list, but no coach has told me that like they're interested in me, that I'm on the team or whatever. Like this is weird. They're like, okay, like, well, let me look at the list. They go to the list. I'm not even on there. I'm like, well, I got a call a couple weeks ago, and the athletic trainer was like, yeah, I remember talking to you. Like, that's really weird. Like, let me go talk to some of the coaches. Met the receiver coach who I now knew at the time because this whole other story of when I came down and visited. He was like, hey, man, like, I'm sorry this happened. Like, that you guys have to drive all the way down here because we ended up living like an hour north of where University of Montana was. And he's like, hey, like, we have a meeting real quick in 30 minutes. Like, let's connect. We can figure something out. Potentially have you come in the winter or try out or whatever, just because spots were so full. I mean, this is like the check-in of fall camp. So 30 minutes go by. I get a call, say, hey, I need you in my office right now. I'm walking in the office back again. Somebody walks past me. I don't think anything of it. Long story short, I end up getting a spot on the roster. A receiver ended up quitting 20 minutes before. So they just opened up a receiver spot just for me. So that was crazy. Like the Lord works in mysterious ways. And he's like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not. Obviously, like just been training by myself in the summer, and then you get bolstered in to a Division I program and you start going through fall camp there. But I love my time at Montana. Things didn't go as planned. Obviously you want to go there. You want to score touchdowns. You want to be there for 4 years. You meet so many great people, and the amount of lessons I learned and the amount of cuss words that I've gotten. I didn't even think certain cuss words could be formed in certain ways when you're at Montana. But Montana, like really, like that's one thing that's been great about college athletics and college football is you have to grow up really fast. Like you cannot be sensitive. You got to grow up quick. You got to have thick skin. Then obviously the lessons and stuff that I learned there, I truly cherished and, throughout what I've done. And, I got unexpectedly cut in 2020 just because of roster spots and some things were political, and it was nothing that I did. I never quit. I busted my butt and, had some players vouch for me that are actually playing in the league right now. And it wasn't God's plan. And then from there, God rekindled my other dream, which was sports broadcasting. And feel free to cut me off at all, because I'm rambling. I know it's a long story, but
no, man, keep going.
So he rekindled that sports broadcasting dream. And my receiver coach, I ended up being a student assistant my last 2 years, and my receiver coach, Brent Pease, was the guy that called the Statue of Liberty play for Boise State, Oklahoma in that Fiesta Bowl. So that was him. So he was the receiver coach there. So which was a blessing in disguise that I got to learn my last 2 years as like a student assistant, because I could have transferred, but my heart, I was like, I just want to be here. Like I know everyone's here. Like my friends are here, my family's here. Like I love the program. Like I just want to be here, even though it stunk that like I wasn't on the team. I could still be a part of the team, but really learning the X and O's from him. And he told me one day, he's like, hey man, you should start your own podcast. And this was around like TikTok and COVID. And I was like, all right, like sure, I'll start a podcast. Like things start with reps. I'd bring on like Clifford Taylor, TikToker, or Mr. Go 30, or Wes Wilson, who was at Bleacher Report, and now he was like with Summer House, and now he's like actually works for the Volume, which is crazy in itself. So I would just bring on guests, like kind of what you're doing, and just continue to post and not really think anything of it. And I brought on Taylor Barton, who was like a 7-on-7 company leader. And he was like, hey, man, I'd love to have you like 7-on-7, like football, high school company. I'd love to have you as like a social media reporter. So I did that my last semester. I would travel on the weekends to Seattle, California, Oregon, Idaho, wherever, just interviewing a lot of these guys. And it's funny enough, like some of these guys are like juniors or seniors now in college, like Kenny and Sadiq. I've known Kenny and Sadiq since he was in high school. Devin Dampier, I interviewed him when he was in high school here in Scottsdale. Jaden Rashada didn't turn out as great, but I've known it. Like I've known a lot of these people, like Sam Levitt, like Cam Scouted. Like I've known. That's what's been so cool is like seeing these guys that you saw before high school and kind of following their journeys to now. And then yeah, man, I from there, you know, I obviously out of there graduated from Montana. And then, you know, landed my first job, which was sports radio here in Arizona. And that was crazy too, was I got turned down by a Seahawks internship that I thought I was going to be the one. It was a Seahawks radio internship, and I came up second. And that's what really kind of just like open your eyes in the sports media business and sports broadcasting, because it's hard. You're going to get told no a bunch of times. And it was the first real no that I thought I was going to get. I'm like, man, God, like, what are you talking about? Like, this is the job that I wanted. I wanted to be able to work for the Seahawks and work the radio, to make my way in there through maybe the NFL, but that wasn't the case. And through a mutual friend, made my way to Arizona, and that's where I started, you know, working radio part-time. And yeah, it's where kind of like 2022 is where things started to like start for me. So that was the long story of where 2022 happened. That's basically, you know, where I got into college media and stuff. So.
No, that's good. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's a story and it inspires a lot of people to try to just keep on pushing, right? And keep on pushing for your dreams. If you want to be, and that's anything, that's not just sports media. If you want to go be a chef, you know, keep going and keep persevering, right? And just pursue breakthroughs whenever you can.
100%.
So on the topic of getting into college football media, talk about how you landed this job with Volume.
Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting story. We all saw the video on Instagram. I saw the video on Instagram when you called your mom about it. I thought it was very touching. It touched me.
It was surreal.
And that was one of it was really one of the things that made me want to get you on here. So talk about your story about how you landed the job with Volume.
One of the things for me, you know, after 2022 working radio, I was working radio. And I never wanted to work radio. It was just a sports broadcasting job, first sports media job that I got out of college. But I knew like content creation and podcasting is what I love to do. And I never really cared. Like I think that's the hardest part with people that get into sports media or even content and stuff is you spend all this time, like you spend 3 hours, you spend 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever, editing a podcast, and you don't get the views that you wanted. And a lot of people quit. And for me, I just never really. Like, obviously, it stinks when you post a video and it doesn't do well, but I never really was enamored by the views. I just kept going. And one thing about me was I'm who I am. I can't really be anybody else. And I try to be kind of authentic and real and, you know, show some entertainment and just show, like, you know, who God is through what I do. And so I was working part-time radio and I was working part-time valet at a five-star restaurant or five-star resort. I was working on a golf course on the side, too, and I was also doing content. So in my 2022, 2023, I did a college football podcast with one of my boys who we don't do anymore because he's got 2 kids and he's a quarterback coach in Pacific Northwest. And he's kind of like anything I need about quarterbacks, I'll text him about. And, but through that was starting to dive into college football. And that's where college football I really fell in love with was at my time in Montana and doing the podcasting. I started to research on the weekends, didn't go out on the weekends, not much of a going out person, but in 2022, like I heard a bunch of quotes from Kirk Herbstreit that really inspired me was to focus on what you're doing now instead of like what's ahead. Like I wanted to do, my plan was I was going to do radio for 6 months and then I was going to get a job after that and I was going to be good. And God's like, no, you're going to do radio for 2.5 years and you're going to work a part-time job and then you're going to have to make, and you have to make ends meet either doing podcasting or content creation on your own. So starting content creation 2022, it's all about reps. You know that too. And just kept falling in love with content creation. Quit my valet job and was still working radio, but I was doing TPC Scottsdale. And through my radio job, which I give a lot of credit to my radio job, luckily being in Phoenix, you get to go to a lot of cool events. So I went to the Final Four in 2024. I got to meet Reese Davis and Ernie Johnson, which was a surreal moment for me. And then I went to the college football playoff game with TCU Michigan a couple of years ago. And then I went to the one last year with Boise State Penn State. So through that, I was lucky enough that my radio boss saw something in me that I was able to go out and just make my own content and do interviews. Like I had Jim Harbaugh, JJ McCarthy, Drew Aller, DJ Burns from NC State, like a bunch of these interviews that did well. So that all obviously like bolstered up my TikTok and got to learn through, content creation through that. So fast forward, I'm getting into the volume job. It's a long story, and I apologize for people out there, but it's all in the story.
Don't, you're good, man.
So I'm working at TBC Scottsdale, and that was my part-time job, like literally working. I would do this through the college football season. I would make a show on Sunday, edit it to like 2 or 3 a.m., work a shift at 5 a.m., and I would work the 8-hour shift of golf, and then I would work an 8-hour shift of radio after, and I would do that like every Monday. And one day I'm working at TBC Scottsdale, and those who don't know, there's tee sheets when you obviously go to a golf course and you see everybody on the list. And I look on the tee sheet, I'm like, MiddleKauff, like John MiddleKauff, like this name sounds so familiar. It's like August of like 2023. And I think this was like about a month or two before I started watching his videos. And I clicked. I'm like, oh, I watch this guy's podcast all the time. Like, this is cool. Like, it's cool that he's, working here. And I'm one of those people, which I'm sure you're the same. Like, I'll talk to anybody. I don't care who you are. Like, I will talk to you, and I do not care. Like, I will go up and introduce myself, and I can read the room. Like, if they're kind of a little standoffish, like they want to have their tea time, they want to focus on golf, go right ahead. So I see MiddleKauff, and he's on the putting green. I'm like, hey man, like just got to let you know, because I had to let him know like when his tea time was. Like, hey man, like we need you on the tee box in 5 minutes. Also, like my name's Jackson. Like I'm a big fan of your show, and I kind of like just like a little intro of like who I was, and super nice guy. Got my name, and that was about it. And he goes off to his tee time. I don't see him again for another year. So every time I'm at TBC Scottsdale, I'm looking at the tee sheet, not there. Follow him on Instagram. He doesn't follow me back. I'm like, dang, like he doesn't know who I am. Like, oh, well, maybe one day we'll see him again. A year later, I see him again. It's like spring of 2024. I see him on the driving range. I talk to him again. I say, hey, like, because he went to Cal Poly and I went to Montana. So they're big sky schools. So that's one thing, too. I always try to, like, somehow, some way relate something where that you can, like, remember me. So he remembers me. We talk more. We talk even more depth about football, get his contact information, get his number. He follows me on Instagram, do the yada, yada. Season comes on. I focus solely on just content creation. Like, I'm going to post more. Obviously, he follows me. I'm going to repost my stuff on my story and all that kind of stuff like that. He texts me out of nowhere, and he says, hey, man, like, I see you're big into college football. And he's more of an NFL guy, and he does college football too, but you know this too. Like, if you're a college football analyst, you're only covering college football because there's so many teams, there's so many transfer portal moves where it's like, yeah, I'll follow the NFL, but like I'm majority going to make college football, and you got to kind of find your niche. And 2024 is where I really kind of fully went college football. And he reached out to me and he said, hey, like, I'd love to have you on the show. Like, like you could bring like 10 or 15 ideas. We'll have you on the show, and you could be on like weekly. We'll see what happens. Dude, I was so nervous. I don't get nervous with podcasting or content creation. This is what we do. Like, this is what, like, Mahomes doesn't get nervous when he's in the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter throwing a touchdown pass. Like, LeBron James doesn't get nervous playing basketball. Surgeons don't get nervous in the surgery room. Like, this is what we do. Dude, my neck was so red. Like, my neck's red right now. It was like beyond red, like almost red as like this cardinal thing right here. And I was nervous just because, like, obviously, like, it's a bigger audience. You don't want to screw anything up. Yeah. Long story short, I did fine after that. It was smooth sailing, and I was on, I think, like 8 times during the season. And then after that, he was like, hey, man, like, let's talk after the season, and we'll see what happens. Like, I'd love to have you on and get you, like, pay you for, like, a hosting gig or whatever. So March happens, March of 2025. We end up talking, and he was like, yeah, man, like, pay you, like, $200 like a week to come on the show, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, are you guys hiring any producers? And he was like, let me check, because he said, he was like, I'd love to have a producer locally because they're a remote company. Everyone's East Coast. Like, we do remote well, but he wanted to do more like maybe Day in the Life or maybe go out, kind of like what Bussin does or Barstool, like stuff like that is what he wants to do too. And he saw that I posted a lot of social media clips, and that's one thing that kind of ultimately got this job was me being able to edit social media clips and be able to kind of have a good eye in that. And, got the email from the Volume. They said, hey, we want you to go through like a whole test, and did a whole test thing and landed this job. And, obviously you're referring to that video, and that was such a big moment for me, just the stress of, those nights of working late or making podcasts or making content creation and feeling like you're not even seen. And I'd call my mom all the time and just frustrated. And she was the biggest supporter of me, my mom, my dad, my parents, my friends. And that's one thing I'm forever grateful for, because not a lot of people do. And that's one thing that I think gets them out of sports media and gets them out of sports broadcasting, because it's not for everybody. It's a long road. And I was talking about that Kirk Herbstreit clip, and he was on this podcast. I think it was called The Mental Game. And he was talking about how he never, when he was going to College Game Day, he never like looked forward to what was down the road. He focused on what was ahead of him. So he was focused on radio for however long he did it. He was focused on content creation, podcasts, like enjoy what you're at right now, because it's all about reps. And then after the season, he was looking at other opportunities. And that, for me, when I switched my mindset from what I wanted to next versus just focusing on the blessings that God had in front of me, that was when things started to turn. And like I said, like, I'm blessed, man. Like, I met him at a golf course at my side job. Like, that tells you how hard it is in sports media at a side job. Like, didn't have any relation to him. The volume job wasn't even on LinkedIn or anything. Like, I'm 0 for 100 on LinkedIn. But met him, was just myself. And, luckily hard work pays off, and it's just the beginning. And, luckily we've been able to do the stuff with him and the volume. And John's such a good dude. He's a great guy. And he's just a hard worker, and he pushes me. And, we've been able to do college football stuff. We did one last week, and I don't think we're going to do one this week just because NFL's kicking off and stuff like that too, man. But I'm blessed, man. Be able to, one, not work at a golf course, especially in Arizona with the heat. It's hard. It's very hot out here. But two, to be able to do what I love, man, to be able to edit content for them, be able to be featured on the volume, and hopefully be able to get invited to that Super Bowl party, be able to meet Colin and all those guys will be cool, and be able to work for a company that I truly believe in. Like, they treat their employees great. Everyone's so nice, and it's a digital company that's on the rise, and I'm looking forward to just kind of seeing, like I said, like, I'm focused on where I'm at right now, be able to, make content and, reach out to people and, talk college football like we are right now. And to be able to, it's wild, dude. Be able to get the opinion and be able to see something in me that I didn't even see in myself is just the craziest thing. So, yeah, it's been wild, man.
Absolutely, dude. And shout out to the volume. Shout out to Colin Cowherd. Shout out to John MiddleKauff. Y'all are awesome. And thank you for hiring Jackson, because now it's motivating him to get pumped. He's getting amped about college football, and you guys got a good one here at the Volume. So shout out to the Volume, John MiddleKauff, and Colin Cowherd. Let's talk about one thing. You mentioned supporters, and you mentioned your family. I feel like a lot of this was a Jesus thing, man. A lot of this was this, okay, God has blessed me with just a great job. Like, literally, at my side job, like you just mentioned, at my side job, I landed this. Like, to me, it sounds like this is all just Jesus putting you in the right steps and the motions on everything. So talk about your faith in Jesus and what it means to you, especially with landing something like this.
Oh, 100%, man. He's everything. I try to show gratitude to him every single day. I try to do my best to portray myself through my content and what I'm doing, who I am through him. And he's everything, man. I would not be here without him. And he sparked that dream when I was little. And I've been born and raised a Christian my whole life, and definitely had some trials and tribulations, especially with this path, man. You definitely doubt yourself, and you doubt, if what you're doing is what you're meant to be doing. You definitely doubt what decisions God makes that you don't even like. Like I told you earlier, that Seahawks internship tore me up, and had a couple of interviews that I thought were going to go well and got declined, and all became because of this opportunity that was the best opportunity that I could have asked for. But yeah, man, he's my best friend, companion, especially now. Like, I'm single. I'm 25 years old. Like, some people say my life's lame because on the weekends I watch college football and I study it during the week, but I call this heaven. Like, this is what I meant to do. Like, this is like what I've been dreaming since I was little, and for God to fulfill that. And anything I do, like, I try to just give the glory to him. And whether we get 10,000 more followers, we get 100 more thousand or whatever, like, that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. All that matters is faith in Jesus. And I have a couple verses, man, that that I've been really leaning on since this whole thing's been going on the last couple of years or so. And Proverbs 16:3, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. Like, I think that's so big, man, is committing everything you do to him, and what you don't realize is going to happen, just having faith that he does. And it's tough, man. It was a tough couple of years, and 2025 has been that year that I've been praying for, and just continue to give him faith. And it's everything, man. He's everything, and I'm hoping to continue to show who he is and hopefully bring more people to the Lord through what I do and, with content and with college football and stuff like that. But everything's possible through him, man. Everything's possible through him. And yeah, man, I wouldn't be here where I am today without him for sure.
Absolutely. You mentioned a verse in Proverbs. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. So if you just keep on leaning on him, your path will be straight. You'll be cleared. You just got to trust in him and keep giving him all the glory for everything. So Tim Brando also told me when we were doing the show a couple of weeks back before kickoff, he said that the journey is the best part. Literally, about doing all this. The journey is the best part. You won't realize it when you're going through trials and tribulations, but the journey is the best part. And when there's an opportunity, jump at it. So I'm thankful that you told us your story on that. It's awesome, man. And guys, just have faith in the Lord. Trust in him. He's going to be with you, and he will guide you in whatever you do. So not only just talking about that, let's talk about some college football, man, because I know you've been pumped about. You've been texting back and forth. You were like, oh, no, I've been just chills, man, just talking about it. So let's talk about some college football. Let's get your reaction to the rankings. You see that? AP poll week 2. Let's talk about that a little bit. What are some of the moves that you were surprised about? And what are some of the moves that you really weren't surprised about? I'll give you my thoughts in a minute, but I want to hear what Jackson Groff's got to say on this.
Yeah, I don't get too fed up in terms of AP poll rankings, especially in week 2, right? These are a lot of people that are writers that cover certain teams. They don't really watch the entire games. I don't get fed up by it at all. Like college football playoff rankings, that's when you can get, okay, like we got to argue, why are they so-and-so? Why are they whatever? I don't have a couple issues with it. I think one issue maybe would be, I don't know about South Carolina at 10, moving up 3 spots to Virginia Tech. I don't think they played that great. I know Lenora Sellers is, he's fun to watch. He's generational, what people are saying, which is kind of a word that we need to stop using, because I feel like that's a word that we use as just a normal adjective for players. We need to stop using generational. He's elusive. He's a special talent. I definitely think he's got more, to prove in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully Nick Harbor can help him out and not drop some passes. So that was one thing for me. And then, Alabama falling 13 spots. I can't remember a team week 1 or just in general falling that many spots to Florida State. That was shocking, but it was rewarded. Again, not a lot of things that I hated about the rankings. I did like to see Utah at 25. I loved watching them. I'm a big Pac-12 after dark. I grew up watching the Pac-12, missed the Pac-12. It was fun watching Utah and UCLA, but Utah, the thumping that they put on UCLA, it was cool to see them kind of jump BYU, who was over them last week in the receiving votes. But all in all, man, I don't really have any issues with the AP poll. I know it's kind of boring. People out there, oh, yeah, scream at the AP poll. I don't get worked up about it personally. But what about you? What do you think about the AP poll?
So I'm glad that you mentioned Pac-12 after dark. I was going to say the Pac-12's coming back. You're probably thinking in your head, it's not the same.
It's not the same, man. That's what I grew up on, man. Watching
bro.
half the country sleep. You're watching Christian McCaffrey run through people at 2 a.m. Eastern, but at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. Pacific. Obviously Notre Dame. I grew up watching that too. But the Pac-12, man, it was it was honestly. The 4 biggest games were awesome on Saturday, but I had a lot of fun watching Cal's new quarterback, watching UCLA, Utah, watching Arizona State, watching Washington. Those are the type of teams that still excite me. I miss the Pac-12, man. It'll forever be missed, and hopefully we can continue to talk about it, even though there's going to be a new conference. So,
I mean, Boise State going to the Pac-12. I mean, it's still not the same. I as much as I try to keep on talking about it, justifying it, you're right, man. It probably isn't the same. But for my ranking reactions, honestly, I'm with you. I think that we shouldn't get worked up over week 2, right? I do think that Bama should have been at 25. And that's not me. Okay, dude, you're a Bama hater. I'm not a Bama hater, guys. A lot of people are going to sit there and probably think, okay, you probably think DeBoer's going to get fired, all this stuff. I'm not saying all that stuff. I'm not. Go back and listen to Tuesday's episode. I just said that they just got to be at their own game. Physicality. And they did. They got manhandled up front. That was probably one of the worst performances I've seen Bama have in my whole lifetime since I've been watching college football and studying the game.
Maybe Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma was probably on the road last year would probably be the second best thing. But you're right. I don't even think. I mean, those two, and then Vanderbilt. But they were competitive with Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt ended up turning out a better team than we thought. No, yeah, you're right. Like our lifetime, Saban, you never saw them get their butt kicked like they did against Florida State. I felt bad for Ty Simpson because Ty Simpson, like, he's getting all this. Oh, he's not the quarterback. Like, he's not the guy. He played awful. He did everything in his power to win that game. It was his offensive line that screwed him. The running game, not having Jam Miller was huge. I think that's something that a lot of people are talking about. And then obviously Ryan Williams and the usage there with Grubb and putting him in the slot and having him out, having Isaiah Horton out in that game. I get what you mean, 25. I think 21 is like far enough for me. I think it's like, okay, like Alabama's still, it sucks they lost to Florida State, but I think them alongside Miami, you look at the rosters and you look the way, how fast they are, how much bigger up they are up front. Those are legit teams. Those are legit. If we were to know what Florida State was before that game, I think you maybe cut Alabama some slack. But yeah, like you said, I'm 21, but hey, if you want to put them at 25, you're a harsh AP poll voter, Joel, then hey, I can't argue with you.
I mean, and the thing is, Florida State may be a team that goes undefeated heading into the Miami game. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, they
right?
kind of
we'll
screw.
That game's going to be
got to
good.
play Miami and Clemson, and Miami's got to just play Florida State. They don't got to play Clemson. And that was another team too. Them jumping up to 5. I honestly I like it. They shocked me last week. I think you should get rewarded for top 10 games, and I think the top 10 again, Texas, Clemson, and Notre Dame 7, 8, and 9. I have no issues there. You know, you lost 2 of them on the road against a top 10 ranked opponent, and one of them a really good LSU team. But yeah, overall, man, I think after this weekend, you kind of sit back and you go, before, you know, there's 8, 9 teams that could win the Natty. Now you look back and you say 10 or 12 that have a legitimate chance, and that's why college football is great, man. That's why we love the sport.
Absolutely. And you were mentioning Alabama, you know, being a lot. And I said on Tuesday's episode of the show, I talked about Ty Simpson. He did make a lot of throws that were good and tried to, you know, change the narrative of the game. But he also made a lot of throws that were rushed. It was kind of half and half. I think, and I did say this, and I gave credit to the offensive line. That's what the offensive line, man, was impressive. Probably one of the best in college football. But they just got manhandled, man. They just got beat up front. And Tim Kenyon being on the defensive line, being out for him, didn't really help things either. Yeah. So I agree with you on that. I think a lot of the argument, too, in the AP was Ohio State and LSU. Should LSU be number 1? I made some headlines, okay? I mentioned that on the show this past Tuesday. I made some headlines when I mentioned, and I probably should have used better wording instead of saying this. I said, vote for whoever, though. It was Nicole Auerbach from NBC Sports and Ari Wasserman from On3 Sports. And I made some headlines by saying, okay, I think LSU played better than Ohio State on Saturday. That was just my take. That's all I mentioned. And then I said, vote for whoever, though. And I probably was thinking back and looking back, I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said vote for whoever, though, because it's probably thinking, okay, LSU should be number 1. I think Ohio State could deserve to be number 1 because they beat the number 1 team. So what are your thoughts on that thing? I know LSU ended up being number 3, and Penn State was 2, but what were your thoughts when Ohio State got 1 and LSU got 3?
I think it's cool for Ohio State to beat Texas and then get up there because they probably were pissed off that they won the national championship last year and they didn't get the number 1 ranking after what happened last year just because all the question marks on defense. And I think for Ohio State to get mad at that, it's like, okay, yeah, but you got to think from an outside perspective. We're not in the locker room. We're not at practice. You see all these new starters coming on defense and you see 2 new coordinators. Like, of course, you're going to trust like with your eyes. That's why Penn State was even ranked above Ohio State too. Like I said, I don't get too much heartburn with the AP poll. Like you mentioned, like the NBC people are going to vote for the Big Ten most likely. ESPN people are most likely to vote for the SEC. Like, this is what happened. Like Joe Klatt, like I love Joe Klatt, one of my favorite, but he is Big Ten bias. He's Colorado bias. Certain analysts that are on this have certain biases. And like I said, it's the AP poll. I think if you look at one thing, maybe the coaches poll, but the coaches poll is tough too because like all these individual coaches don't watch every single game. So just in general, the system, it's kind of a poll just to like have rankings and to be able to, you know, establish some kind of rankings for these teams. But I have no issue, man. It's week 1. It's week 1.
Yeah, and you're right. It's literally like, we're going to have these rankings until late October, early November. And then the real rankings matter. The Pigskin Frenzy rankings, guys. Come on. I'm just saying. I'm joking. But, yes, the Pigskin Frenzy rankings will be out by then, obviously. But let's talk about this scheduling, moving on from the rankings. Let's talk about just the schedule overall for week 2. I know we're going to talk about the games and pick the Pigskin Frenzy games of the weeks, but let's talk about who's on upset alert for week 2. I know I didn't mention this to you beforehand. I mentioned it to you like last minute, and I'm sorry about that. But I do want to talk to you about who's on upset alert in week 2. There may be some games that you look at and you're thinking, you can consider that. So what do you think?
Early on, the one that caught my eye, I think SMU, 17 ranked SMU at home against Baylor might be on upset alert.
Yeah.
It's a Baylor team that played Auburn pretty tough. Obviously they had a horrible start to the game, and I think if they could go back and redo their game plan, maybe have a QB spy on Jackson Arnold, because Jackson Arnold's going to run the ball every dang play, and they don't want to adjust. But it's okay. It's okay, Baylor. And Dane Miranda, and probably shouldn't go for 4th down the amount of times he did, even though sometimes it worked. But, man, sometimes you're like, Dane, like just take the 3 points, especially early on in that game too.
Right.
But I think if Dane Miranda learns from what he did last week, I like Sawyer Robertson a lot. I thought his passing ability, and they do have some wide receivers, and you kind of think back to the RG3 days, not RG3, but Bryce Petty, when he had those like 2 or 3 wide receivers that he could rely on. You got a stable running back and a defense that I thought looked impressive against Auburn. And SMU, coming off of East Texas A&M, getting their punch in the mouth against Baylor, I think they might have a slow start. And I do like Kevin Jennings, but I think they lost a lot of supporting cast from last year. That's kind of my upset alert. I think Baylor is kind of a gritty team. They probably were kicking themselves. They should have won that Auburn game last week. But I'm going to say Baylor beats SMU as my upset alert for the week.
It's like we have super dogs on this, man. We're going to get Jackson Groff back on this show, ladies and gentlemen. We really are going to have to get him on, man. I'm going to sit here and say I got a couple, honestly. I don't know if you would really consider this an upset, maybe. I would think Iowa and Iowa State. I would watch out for that one. I think Iowa State's going to – I think I got Iowa State winning the game. I just would tread carefully on that. Rivalry game. Iowa looked okay last week. I just would tread carefully, on that one. And the second one, you're probably going to think, oh, well, actually I got two more because it's college football, all right? But one of them is Arizona State, Mississippi State. That's an interesting one as well.
Wow.
A lot of people are going to sit and think that, oh, dude, State's, they're going to get run over. They might. Arizona State may. Jordan Tyson and Sam Levitt, dogs, may go in there and absolutely annihilate that State defense. But I will say this. I think some of the trash talk that was happening in the presser could get to Jeff Lebby and that defense a little bit in Stark Vegas. I'm just saying. They were using, I saw the practice where they were doing the little cowbell, things. I just don't know if small little cups with like little bells in it are going to do it justice. I've been to Stark Vegas. It's loud as all get out in there. So I'm going to have to go with that one, maybe slightly. I'm still going to pick Arizona State, but that could turn into something, maybe. And then another one, I think a lot of people aren't paying attention to this one on Friday. James Madison in Louisville. James Madison could be a better team than advertised in the Sun Belt. I think they're going to be one of the top contenders in the Sun Belt as well. I would pay attention to that one. James Madison in Louisville.
Interesting. But I don't know if I agree with the last two. I'm not going to lie. Iowa, I can maybe see rivalry game. Mark Gronowski, Rocco Beck's been phenomenal. A lot of firepower. He's been probably one of the more underrated non-talked about quarterbacks the first 2 weeks of the season. Miller Moss, Isaac Brown, I think there's too much firepower there at home against James Madison, but I agree, like James Madison with Barnett, he's a good quarterback. He's a really dynamic dual threat guy. And then Mississippi State's interesting with Arizona State because I think ASU played really bad against NAU. I think Dillingham's going to get him fired up, and they kind of play down to their opponents, but they play up for these kind of SEC games. My only flack on, to your point about Mississippi State, is last year ASU started out slow, so it took them a couple weeks after Texas State. I think they lost to Texas Tech, and then they flipped things around from there. So they might get off to a slow start, but I think ASU is going to win that game. I just think Mississippi State. It was close. Who they play last week? Like, it was a close game at the start, and then towards the end they broke through. Was it Southern Miss?
Yeah, Southern
Miss on the road.
Miss in Hattiesburg at the Rock,
which is wild. I don't know how you get an SEC going on the road there to like a school like that, which is kind of shocking. A lot of those, they're big pride. Oh, you got to play us at home, and But yeah, we'll see,
Yeah.
man. I mean, I'm fired up for those. There's a lot of underrated games this week. This is one of those games where it's like, okay, if you're a college football fan, you'll watch this weekend. But if you're a fake college football fan and just care about big matchups, then we'll see you next week, or we'll see you in 2 weeks when there's a big matchup. Like, this is the weeks where we're starting to see, like, okay, like, we're not the cupcake schedules are starting to go away, which I want, which I'm all for. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Two more matchups. I know we gotta pick the games and do the Pigskin Frenzy games for this week. But what about? And I'm laughing at this, man. What about Oklahoma State and Oregon? What's your thoughts on that with the Gundy and Dan Lanning stuff, man?
Oregon by 40, man. Oregon by 40.
Yeah.
It sucks. I'm a Gundy guy. I got to interview him in 2022. I asked him about his hair, and he was a great dude, but no quarterback, no running back. I don't know a whole lot about their roster. I just know that Oregon at home and what they did to Montana State last week. I think the spread's like 28.5. I lean towards them, man. I think they're one of those teams where they pounce on you, they're not getting up. You're not breathing for any type of air against Oregon. They're going to go for it on fourth down. They're going to throw the ball the entire game. They're going to make a statement for the country. And I don't really believe in Oklahoma State, but what about you?
Yeah, Oregon's going to win that game. I posted a GIF or a meme on X, and it was Darth Vader just getting the lightsaber going and ready. I think that's what's going to be about right. I think Oregon's going to win the game. And then there's nothing wrong, with that. I mean, Oregon's – look, about the spending with NIL, that's just the way college football is now. That's just how it is. That's how it works. Gundy mentioned about, about them spending, and then Dan Lanning's fired back and said, we spend to win, and it's the truth because it's showing. So, I don't know, man. I think Oregon's going to win the game. It's not going to be an upset alert. I just was going to ask your thoughts about Oregon and Oklahoma State because I thought about it real quick, and I have a follow-up to this because I just literally, man, just popped up into my head. Who, in each Power 4 conference, who are teams that you're concerned about after week one?
Concerned about after week one.
I'll give you mine after yours.
Yeah. SEC probably would be Alabama just because of the effort, man. I mean, week one, you have all these months preparing for a game. It's a 7-point ball game, and not only the effort, but like the excessive penalties that were so unnecessary, like on the third down and Damani Jackson or whoever late on the quarterback, like those type of little things for me. I don't know if it's DeBoer versus the players or what's going on in that locker room. They're probably the most concerning for me in the SEC. Big 12, Kansas State almost lost to North Dakota this last weekend. I don't know if you watched that game. Like, you almost lost that game, and you almost look at this team like Florida State last year, and you're like, is there some kind of Ireland curse? Like, is Avery Johnson not that quarterback that we thought? They don't have a lot of weapons around him. Could the defense be a lot weaker than we thought with Chris Kleiman, who they kind of pride themselves on their defense? So they're probably the biggest concern for me on the Big 12. Big 10 wise, I'm trying to think. I'm looking at the AP poll right now, seeing teams that like went down. Maybe it's just tough. Big 10. Maybe I don't think Indiana. I don't really have a concern. I mean, UCLA is horrible, but I knew they were going to be bad this year, so maybe UCLA. But like that's kind of like a cop out answer. They got like up front, just both sides of the football. They got obliterated against Utah, so maybe them. Again, there's not like a lot of the Big Ten teams that are like most dominant in that conference had cupcake schedules. Yeah. Big 12. Let me look at Big 12. I already said Big 12. Sorry, Kansas State. And then ACC. I'm slightly worried. Clemson. I picked them to win the national championship. I don't know if it's Garrett Riley or if it's Klubnik or if it's just the team in general. They don't play well week one. And they didn't really commit to the running game as much as they wanted to. And Randall, and I know this Davidson guy, Gibson Davidson, is supposed to be like an absolute freak. And he's supposed to be that next freshman running back for them. I think they could still win the national championship, still have everything in front of them. But I got to see run the damn football. I got to see some kind of running stability, and it's going to open up for Klubnik. What's the status on Antonio Williams moving forward? So I'm not too panicky on them, but they would be one of those teams that like I want to see. I want to see you in your next biggest game on the road at Georgia Tech. Just come out and beat them by 20 points. Like that would be like a statement win, is what I would love to see from Clemson. So those for me would be, if I had to pick, like some panicky concerns from each of the Power 4 conferences. What about you?
I feel like we have like a mental telepathy or something. Like we were like on the same page or something like before we started this stuff, man, because we are pretty much on point. I think Alabama for sure.
Yeah,
I think A&M concerns me a little bit, man. I think
that was a
I was
weird
surprised
game.
by what I saw from.
That was a weird
Yeah,
game.
that was a weird game, and a lot of people are going to sit there and say UTSA is a quality opponent for some people. And yeah, UTSA's got like Jeff Traylor's a good coach, and he's going to have them ready to play in certain matchups and in big time matchups, but. A&M should have been able to dominate that game, honestly, with the talent that they got. I don't know. I think that game concerns me a little bit, and they concern me a little bit afterwards. I think Kansas State's right on the money with the Big 12. I think Kansas State's a major concern. I had them number 2 in the Pigskin Frenzy conference standing projections for the Big 12
Wow.
entering this year. Number 2 against Iowa State in a rematch in the Big 12 title game, with Iowa State beating them again. I don't know. I think Kansas State's I don't even know if they can make it. Keep it on playing the way they're playing. Honestly, it's not going to look good.
I'm looking back at mine. I had Kansas State at 4, which makes me feel a little better. I had Iowa State at 6, which makes me feel good right now because they're balling right now. TCU, man, TCU and Utah were 2 teams to me in the Big 12 that I took away, and I said, okay, those are 2 legit teams. Like Josh Hoover, you're like, okay, I know why Tennessee tried to poach you and try to tamper you a little bit in the portal, and tampering, they're not doing anything right now. Do what you got to do. Tampering happens all the time in college football. But, Kansas State, man, something's going on there. I don't really have too much faith in that moving forward. Avery Johnson may be a little overrated.
And I'm glad that you touched on TCU and Josh Hoover, because I posted a video when I was doing the Big 12 Media Day recaps and everything. That's Josh Hoover's probably going to be the breakout quarterback in the Big 12. I said that. Listen, just call it on me, guys, okay? Just give me all the praise here. No, but for real, I think Josh Hoover has a shot at breaking out even more and being a problem for for defenses in the Big 12. I think the Horned Frogs got it. I think Utah also has got it with Devin Dampier. I think that Utah is looking really, really good. And a lot of people were sleeping on Utah and Kyle Whittingham. I had them in the top 10. But a lot of people were sleeping on him a little bit, and Kyle Whittingham's going to make people pay probably, I bet, for sleeping on the Utes. So that's the Big 12 for me. If we're going to talk about like the ACC, I'll finish with the Big 10. The ACC, Georgia Tech, man, it was and they're still okay. Yeah, there's still time. They were number 2 for me getting into the ACC championship, and a lot of people are going to think that you're psychotic for saying that, especially after Friday. But they did concern me. I will admit. I mean, starting off with 2 turnovers within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game was concerning. Yeah, that's concerning. But if they can turn it around, maybe we'll see. But after that, they showed a little bit of okay, that's a little bit of concern to watch out for them after week 1 against Colorado. Last but not least, I'm going to go with you. I think Indiana's. Yeah, there's some things in Indiana that need to be fixed. I think just a tiny bit. I think the O-line looked okay, but not good enough, which is weird to say that for me, especially against Old Dominion. I think they started off real slow, and that kind of scared me a little bit about Indiana, especially in a game like in Ohio State. Well, they're playing Penn State this year. That scares me a little bit about them. I don't know. I think Indiana's one, and then UCLA. You mentioned UCLA.
Horrible.
We don't even. And the thing is, I told everybody this about UCLA. I said that Nico did not have a lot of help around him. I said that from the jump, and it was the truth. I was right. I didn't expect UCLA to amount to a lot, even though it's week 1 already. There's still time, but I don't know, man. Utah just dominated them the whole game. So. But I mean, that's really it. I mean, that's all I got on that one. I think A&M's a concern, though. Do you think A&M's a concern? I was going to ask you that.
It's always tough because, I think as a player, you don't get as fired up to play these UTSAs, right? You don't get as fired up, and I think definitely the coaches, and I don't think a lot of teams fully give out their playbook or go full end against a UTSA team. They play Utah State this week, so we'll see. Defensively, maybe a little concerned, especially the running back and how many yards he ran. I'm a Notre Dame guy, and I'm going to be at that Notre Dame A&M game in a couple weeks, and it kind of makes me smile a little bit. A&M's a team that I actually had as my playoff bracket as that kind of dark horse team. I think the SEC could kind of slip in 5 teams, but maybe a little concerning, but I don't. When you play those cupcake games, it's hard for me to overreact, but it's hard for me to underreact. Hard for me to like judge anybody that plays like a group of 5 team. Like it's tough for me to look at Penn State. Like it's cool to watch, Pena and the Hudson and them have that chemistry. But what's that going to look like against Oregon? What's that going to look like against Ohio State? What's that going to look like against Illinois, Indiana, all these teams? So I don't really overreact, but like you, I agree. Like it wasn't what we expected from A&M against the UTSA team to have UTSA, the running back, go for a 75-yard touchdown to open up the second half. Like I did not anticipate that at all. So,
right, man. And I'll give you one more for the ACC. Chapel Bill. Man.
Oh yeah, that's number one. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's number one. I forgot
about North Carolina. I just thought about that, dude. I was like, Georgia Tech. Let me just change my pick right now. It ain't Georgia Tech anymore. It's North Carolina. That is the number one concern. Yeah, that is. Where do we even? The thing is, it's like, where do I even dissect
that first drive?
The North Carolina
was so promising. Game? I mean, the first drive they rolled so fast. The camera cuts to, I forget who it was Michael Jordan and Roy Williams. And then it cuts to Jordan with Randy Moss. And then it cuts to Bill.
Yeah.
You're like, hold on. Like, am I betting the wrong team? Am I going TCU? I mean, is UNC legit? And then Josh Hoover happened. And Gio Lopez going to hit a ball to save his life. Could not throw a pass to save his life. And I think for me, I don't know what your thoughts were before that game. I lean TCU just because Hoover, 71 new players. Like it's like with Arch Manning and people all freaking out about Arch Manning. I view Arch Manning as a 2027 draft guy. I don't view him as this year. Same with North Carolina. I view them as a project. Now, their schedule is so easy. Well, I think with Mac Johnson, what you saw in the second half, I think it is promising offensively that they'll get things going with a more veteran guy, pocket passer, decisive dude. That's what Bill Belichick rolls with versus this short little guy that runs everywhere and doesn't know how to make a decision that played from South Alabama. But, yeah, they're definitely a concern. And I think a lot of people you get the primetime spotlight like that, you get 8 million people watching you, and you lose 48-14 or whatever the score was in that game. It was definitely disappointing for sure. Definitely alarming.
The worst game, the worst. I think it was the worst game in his career, point wise. It was the worst. And the thing is, I did lean towards TCU. I didn't do it. It wasn't the pigskin game or anything like that. But I did lean towards TCU right off the bat. I posted it on X. I was like, all right, man. TCU, I'm almost going to bet it on that. I didn't expect it to be that bad, though. I know TCU had one of the best recruiting classes during the offseason in the Big 12, and they did. I didn't expect it to be that rough. Man, Randy Moss was there, dude. Lawrence Taylor was there. And then all of a sudden, they only put up 14.
Is not showing up for another game. He will not be there anymore.
Literally, he's out here rejecting Lawrence Taylor for some odd reason. I saw that head nod taking no, and I'm like, what is he talking? What is he rejecting Lawrence Taylor for? What did Lawrence Taylor ask him? And then you go back onto the field, and you're sitting there, and you're like, this is rough. I was high on Gio Lopez. Then he didn't complete another pass for the past 2 hours, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, I feel sorry for everybody betting the house on North Carolina right now. I don't know. It was rough, man. Watching that game. I was sitting there and just, whew. I have a thing on X called Bedtime College Football Talk. And I'm still doing it. It's literally right before bedtime, we recap some of the games, some of the pigskin games or some games in general that we need to talk about. I do it on X. I'm probably going to start doing it on Instagram as well. I need to start getting people on there. I need to get Jackson Groff on one of these. That'd be pretty awesome. Do a bedtime college football talk live and get Jackson on there. It'd be sick. But also, when I would do those videos, and I was talking about that, the word I used for that North Carolina game was mollywop. Literally, the definition of mollywop is physical. It's a physical beating towards another person or a team. Literally, that's what it was. I was stunned watching that whole game, but I don't know. Were you high on North Carolina before the season started?
No, I didn't think they'd make a bowl game. Their schedule is just so easy. I mean, they play Charlotte. I think they play Wake Forest, Stanford, these really bad games. I think I maybe make a bowl game, but I wasn't super high on them.
Yeah. I wouldn't too high on them. I'll put them at ninth in my conference standing projections, but I didn't think they were going to be that good. Okay, they're going to go 11-1. A lot of people had them at 11-1, and I was thinking that's crazy. But guys, It's time for the preview predictions for week 2. Pigskin Frenzy games, man. We're rocking and rolling here. We're already at week 2. Season's already flying by. We'll blink and we'll be at the conference championship weekend. So week 2, man. Let's kick it off. Let's do Missouri and Kansas. Kansas at Missouri. Kansas is 2-0. Missouri's 1-0. I think the spread in the line's Missouri 3.5, if I'm not mistaken on that.
6.5. I think it's 6.5.
6.5 for Missouri, right?
Yeah. I think it's 6.5.
Yeah, Missouri's like a touchdown favorite in that game. What are your thoughts and analysis? I'll give you my keys in a minute, but what's your thoughts and analysis on that?
Yeah, I think it's a fun rivalry that's back. I mean, they haven't played since 2011. So I think anytime you can kind of rekindle those rivalries and somehow, some way, I know both these schools played in the Big 12. Missouri was a Big 12 team once ago. Somehow do it in a non-conference game. I think it's great for the sport. And I know Oregon try to play each other every year. I know Washington State try to play each other every year. Like any type of non-conference. I know Oklahoma State. I don't know why they don't play in the non-conference. It's stupid. They should try to get Bedlam back. But for me, when I look at this game, I think it's two exciting quarterbacks. I mean, Jalen Daniels has been there for like 7 years versus Bo Perbula finally getting his opportunity. And I like Bo Perbula. It kind of stunk that he was in that situation last year where he was forced to leave before their playoff run, which is not his fault, but the market with transfer portal quarterbacks and all these schools that want them, like you kind of got to go now versus if you was to go later in the transfer portal or later in the college ball playoff run or after they got eliminated, he wouldn't have got the opportunity he got at Missouri. I think it's interesting, Missouri. It's tough to look, like I said, against Central Arkansas, but offensively, I think the biggest matchup is going to be their offense versus Kansas defense. Kansas defense last year was one of the worst in the country, and they've looked good. They looked competitive against Wagner and against Fresno State. But for me, it's going to be what can they do to contain Bo Perbula and the offensive weapons of Ahmad Hardy, who I like from UM Monroe, and I think he's going to have another great game against Kansas. I like their wide receivers, Kevin Coleman Jr. from Miss State, and Johnson, who's another good receiver too. And they've got Missouri's always had a talent of grabbing guys from either group of 5 schools or from FCS schools and putting them at running back or wide receiver. They're really good at the transfer portal. They do that every single year. So I favor them in this game, just them being at home. I think Jalen Daniels is probably going to be their only – I think if Missouri can lock up the receivers on the outside, Jalen Daniels is going to have to do too much. And I just don't know how a Jalen Daniels – injury prone, don't want him to take a lot of hits. I think he's going to have to run a ton against this Missouri defense to have a chance in this game. But I favor Missouri here, but I'm hoping for a good game. Like I said, it's a rivalry game that's rekindled. But I would favor the Missouri SEC team. I thought Baylor was going to beat Auburn because I thought Baylor was a better team. And you saw in that game the offensive line and the defensive line of the SEC overpowered a Big 12 team, and I think it does here too.
So Missouri gets the win.
Missouri gets the win. Yeah, I'm hoping they cover. That'd be cool if Kansas covered, and hopefully Kansas were to upset them. I think it'd be fun for the sport. But I trust Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz. Kind of an underrated coaching matchup too. Drinkwitz versus Leopold, and shoot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The keys for Kansas for me, for the pigskin keys here, guys. Number one, they got to start off fast. They really do. I mean, they started off kind of white hot against Fresno State a couple of weeks back as well. I think they got to slow down that running game. That's the number 2 key for them. They got to slow down that running game with Ahmad Hardy. I mean, he put up 100 yards against Central Arkansas last weekend. I know it's Central Arkansas, but still, Ahmad Hardy's an absolute freak at the running back spot. And I already said that. I said he was going to be one of the best running backs in the conference. So you got to slow down that running game, and you got to slow down Bo Perbula because he's got wheels. So, and he will get mobile in this game. So, number 2, slow down that running game and minimize the turnovers, man, because they had 2 turnovers, 1 fumble, 1 interception, I believe, against Wagner last week, if I'm not mistaken, last Friday. So, I would minimize those turnovers, because if you just kind of slow that down and cut that back, you have a shot. But if you have those turnovers like you did against Wagner last week, against a team like Missouri, it's not going to go well, especially in Columbia. So Missouri's keys for me are simple. Establish the running game. Run it with Ahmad Hardy. Drain that defense and tire them out with running the rock. Minimize the penalties, though, because 8 penalties for 70 yards, that was rough. And in a game like this, especially, you could maybe slip up, and I don't think this is the game you would want to slip up in, especially when you're trying to get back into the thick of things like you were in 2023. So, and then number 3, force those turnovers. Let Jalen Daniels throw an interception. Let him fumble the ball. Snag those turnovers. And if you're seeing what you saw from Kansas in the Wander game, like you said last week, bro, I mean, you're gold, man. You're smiling and you're chomping at the bit to get those turnovers. So who do I have winning this ball game? I'm with you, man. I'm going to go with Missouri. I think it's going to be a touchdown. It's going to be close. I think that Kansas will step up in certain areas on defense, but I think eventually, Ahmad Hardy and Bo Pribula are going to break out and cause some problems for that defense later on. So give me Mizzou. I think they're going to win 35-21. I think it's going to be I think they'll cover. I think it's going to be a 14-point game. 35-21. Mizzou gets the win, and they go to 2-0. Kansas goes to 2-1. Any final thoughts on that game? Or
yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be kind of those underrated fun games we talked about. Like there's a lot of unranked matchups between Power Four conferences, and you kind of see how they both square up and how Jalen Daniels would do against a Missouri defense. And like you said, like with the turnovers, and Jalen Daniels has had some issues with turnovers in the past, especially early on the season. And Missouri being on the road, being on the road at Missouri, a hostile environment, SEC, like that crowd will feed off of those turnovers. And they'll be shocked if like the next player or two, Bo Pribula comes out with an RPO or a quarterback design run and runs for 30 yards. And then the whole Missouri crowd is yelling. And next thing you know, the stadium pulse continues to rise for Jalen Daniels. But I think it's a fun matchup, man. I think it'll be a good matchup for sure.
And watch out for Kevin Coleman in that game, too. I mean, we were talking about Ahmad Hardy and Bo Pribula, and watch out for Kevin Coleman in that game, dude. He is I saw him against Central Arkansas, and he was an absolute menace. So watch out for him in that game as well. Illinois at Duke. Very interesting matchup, man, I think. I mean, Illinois, I was high on Illinois. I'm still high on Illinois. I think they look good, even though, I mean, like I said, you said it was kind of a cupcake game, but I mean, it was still. I mean, I think that Illinois going into this year looks really, really good. Duke started off slow against Elon a little bit, but they picked it back up. So, Darian Mensah is a solid quarterback. So, and I think this is going to be a battle of the quarterbacks. So, I'll start with you. Where are you leaning, and what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good quarterback matchup. Like you said, that Duke-Elon game was weird because I think before the season, I would lean Duke on this being at home. Manny Defense being a defensive coach versus Brent Bielema. I don't even know how to say his last name. His last name is kind of hard to say. But
Brett Bielema.
Brett Bielema,
yeah.
And Luke Altmaier. I actually favor Illinois is an underdog in this game. And I don't know if they're an underdog in this game, actually, or not. But them being on the road, I think they might be favored by like 2.5 or something. Might have to check that line. But I'm leaning Illinois in this football game. I think Illinois will win the game. My only concern with them heading into the season was them losing Pat Bryant and Zach Franklin, who I think were really talented wide receivers. And we'll see how they can win those one-on-one matchups, because one thing about Duke's defense is they have really good secondary. Chandler Rivers is a stud. And then you wonder how Mensah in game 2 with this offense, getting familiar with his wide receivers, how he'll adapt against Illinois' defense, who has a lot of returning production coming back on both sides of the football. But I lean Illinois. Their O-line comes back. I like Luke Altmaier. Give me the more veteran quarterback with the all returning, starters from last year on defense. But I think it's going to be a fun matchup again. You got a defensive coach versus kind of an offensive-minded head coach, and one that, Illinois, if they want to kind of make that college football playoff run, and people are saying them as that next Indiana, you got to win a game like this. You have to win a game at Duke. So I'm going to lean Illinois here. What about you?
Duke's a sleeper team, man.
They are.
And they really are.
And I like Mensah, too. I like Mensah. But, right now, I think Duke's going to be a good team, and they could snipe maybe one of those ACC teams. But I didn't like what I saw last week against Elon. I mean, I didn't like what I saw.
Yeah, they started off sluggish. I will say this, they got better at third downs. They started winning the battle on third downs last week. Duke did, and their third down conversion rate was really, really good. So, keys for the Pigskin Frenzy, keys for both teams. I think they got to win the line of scrimmage battle. They got to out-physical Dukes on both sides of the football in the trenches. Establish that running game, man, because the way they ran the ball last week on Friday, man, tremendous. They ran the ball really, really well, and it's going to tire that Duke defense out. So, that and win the time of possession battle. I think they had like 36, 37 minutes of time of possession last Friday in their game. Dude, you win the time of possession battle, it's all good. Duke's keys, win the third down battle, because they did really, really good on third down conversions. I would say call some 3-and-outs. Get Luke Altmaier on that offense off the field if you're Duke. I think that's very, very important, because they're going to keep pouring it on. And I'm not saying they're going to be flashy, but they're going to literally just punch you in the face, man. They're going to keep punching you and keep going. So I would literally get them off the field as much as you can in this type of game. And then slow their running game down, I believe. I think if you slow their running game down a little bit, Duke can have it. For me, who do I have winning this ball game? I'm going to have Illinois winning this game. I think it's going to be more than 2. I'll say by a touchdown.
Yeah, they're 3.5
I'll say 20.
Favorites. I just looked. But yeah, I think 3.5 was kind of a lower line than I expected because I thought, on the road, but them being a better quality team, I thought maybe like 4.5 or 5.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
But, so both going to Illinois.
I'll say 21. Yeah, 21-14. I think Illinois is going to get the win. I think they're just better, in my opinion. That's not a knock at Manny Diaz and Duke. I know a lot of people are going to sit there and say, dude, you're knocking them. I'm not. I just think Illinois overall has got better talent on the team right now. They're more fired up heading into the season. I think Illinois gets the win 21-14. It's an early game, 12 Eastern, 11 a.m. Central kick on ESPN. Going to be very early, but Illinois is going to get the win. I think they get it 21-14, and I think they move the ball a little bit well on the field. I think Darian Mensah does better than people expect, but I think Illinois' dynamic run game is going to get him. So give me Illinois winning that ball game.
You pay him $16 million. You hope he can do better the next game. Like, jeez. You know what I mean? Like, come on, dude.
Oh, no. Oh, we don't see Jackson Groff, ladies and gentlemen. That was the one-liner there. Guys, just cover your ears, right? Just cover your ears if it was $16 million. South Florida at Florida. Interesting ball game here, ladies and gentlemen, because the way South Florida played against Boise was very interesting. A lot of people, and I said this way back in June, I said I in the top 10 for the group of 5, I had South Florida at 8. I said South Florida could be an underrated threat in the group of 5 and in the American Conference. I had Boise State going into that game, but I said that game could go either way. Literally, I don't know why I felt this, Jackson. I said as the week went on for South Florida, bro, I felt that game was going to be a little bit interesting, if that makes sense. I just had that gut feeling. I don't know why, but South Florida at Florida, both 1-0 in Gainesville. I think Florida's a 17, they're a 17-point favorite against South Florida as far as I know. Tell me where you're leaning on that one and your analysis on the game.
Yeah, I mean, South Florida, I was leaning South Florida last week, and one of my buddies actually had a really good point. I was on the side of Boise State and, with Madsen and, them, the 2 running backs that they have, and I was kind of leaning Boise State, and he told me about, remember last year when Boise State played Georgia Southern, and they had Genty, and it was a little closer game than a lot of people expected against a Sun Belt team on the road, and part of that had to do because of the heat. They don't play well in the heat, and because of that, Boise State, you saw they got gassed in the second half, especially with the high-tempo offense that USF has. I lean Florida here, obviously, just because Florida Gators and DJ Lagway and Baugh, and I like their new wide receiver, the true freshman, Verl Brown III. But I will say, though, Florida better not underestimate South Florida. Like, South Florida's coming in there with Byron Brown, and they're one of those teams, like you said, the group of 5 teams the last couple of years. We've known their quarterback's been dynamic, and he's explosive, and he's a dual threat, and he's fun to watch. But you wondered when the year was going to be for them to kind of get over the hump and be in the group of 5 discussion, and that could be this year. It stinks that they play Florida and Miami back-to-back weeks. You hope they don't get punished for it. Because that win against Boise State kind of gives them the nod over the other group of 5 teams. But I'd say for Florida, it's going to be interesting their defense against like a high-tempo dual-threat guy. How do they do against him? How will they combat against a guy like that versus playing LIU the week before? And then offensively, can DJ Lagway limit the turnovers? Even if it's against a group of 5 opponent, I want to see him kind of process, go through his reads, take care of the football, and how will those, the weapons around him, Dallas Wilson and this new guy, Vernal Brown, step up in their second game, and can they be able to run the football against Jaden Baugh? I think this is like the step up as you get prepared for, their first game being Texas in a couple weeks. Like, South Florida's no slouch. They got a lot of SEC transfers. They punched Boise State in the mouth, and they definitely could do the same thing against you. They got nothing to lose, and you got all of it to lose too. So I think Florida wins this game convincingly, but I'd love to see a fight out of South Florida in this game. I mean, they're gonna play them tough for sure.
I really love that you mentioned Jaden Baugh, because I think he can be a really dynamic threat in this game. Just run the ball. I mean, he had 104 yards, 1 touchdown, off of 9 carries. 9 carries. So, again, I know it's against, LIU, right? But when you look at that, it's still pretty impressive right off the bat. So, I think the keys for this game for me, for South Florida, honestly, are you really got to minimize the penalties, because against Boise, you had 7 penalties for 56 yards. And even though you still won and you blew out Boise, you blew out the Mountain West champion, dude. That's awesome. They came off with a playoff appearance. You still got to minimize that, because against Florida, they're going to capitalize on that. find a way to contain DJ Lagway. If you can find a way, if Todd Orlando can scheme and cook something up and find a way to rattle DJ Lagway a little bit, that's going to be very tough. But if you find a way to do that, then watch out. I mean, they can probably, come away with something. And force turnovers. You got like a couple of fumbles last week against Boise State. If, like you said, you're mentioning about protecting the football for Florida. If that defense can cause some chaos and cause some turnovers, South Florida could probably capitalize on that with Byron Brown at quarterback. So, speaking of that, for Florida, you got to shut down or slow down Byron Brown. He's dynamic. He can run, he can throw, but he's a killer once on those read option plays, man. So you got to watch out for Byron Brown. I think win the line of scrimmage battle, out physical them, and just manhandle them up front in the trenches, and just win on third down. They were 7 for 13 against LIU. That's pretty freaking good if you're Florida. So if you can literally win, just stay on third down, convert on third down, get that defense gassed a little bit for Todd Orlando and that South Florida Bulls team, Florida can easily, convincingly win this game. Who do I have winning this game? I got Florida. I think South Florida covers, though. Ooh. I think South Florida covers. Let's add some little bit of drama in there. I think South Florida covers. I think South Florida, I think it'll be 35-21. I'll go with the same score I did with earlier in the, I think it was Mizzou and Kansas game. I think it was 35-21. Florida wins it. But South Florida covers. It's not going to be 17 points. It'll be 14 points. I think South Florida hangs in there for a little bit, and then Florida runs away with it. I think South Florida's a better team than most people realize in that American Conference, and they're going to prove it. So give me Florida to win that game 35-21.
I like it. That'd be fun for South Florida to cover. Maybe a little panic on Billy Napier's face on the sideline when you see South Florida go up 10-0 or 7-0 or something like that, So that'd be fun, man. It's the Battle of Florida, and then obviously they got to play Miami the next week, but I like it.
Absolutely. And then you just, get the panic button, or that panic meme happens if South Florida does end up somehow winning the game. Imagine if South Florida did win that. I hope I get memed. I swear. I hope I hope someone hears me say this and I get memed for this. But imagine if South Florida does win. But last but not least, we'll wrap it up. Big game for Pigskin Frenzy here. Michigan at Oklahoma. Very conflicted on where I was leaning with this one before we started, honestly. Just thinking back and forth. Who's going to win this ball game? OU is a 5.5-point favorite at home in this ball game. SEC on ABC games Saturday night in Norman. The game day crew is going to be there. It's going to be rocking. To me, this could go either way, but the way I'm feeling, Jackson, is this is Bryce Underwood's second start, and it's against OU, raucous crowd on the road. What are you leaning? What are your thoughts? Take it away.
Yeah,
man.
I think it's going to be a fun game. I think you got so many storylines. You got two programs, Michigan and Oklahoma, that have been kind of waiting for their opportunity to make their way up to that tier one. Michigan, yes, they won the national championship a couple of years ago. Tough to replace Harbaugh, but what happened last year, especially that pass offense, it is honestly unbelievable last year how they won 8-9 games with how bad they were passing the football, and they beat USC, they beat Alabama in that bowl game. They didn't have a horrible season. Bryce Underwood, he looked good against New Mexico, but again, it's tough to evaluate. Both these quarterbacks, John Mateer and Bryce Underwood, looked good against their opponents. John Mateer only missed 7 passes against Illinois State, but it's Illinois State. And then you go to Bryce Underwood, and yes, it was his first career start, but he definitely looked better, more confident throwing the football than what we saw from Arch Manning against Ohio State. Again, very different opponents. I think for me, for Michigan, it's going to be, can they still be able to run the football with Justice Haynes, who had an unbelievable day, the Alabama transfer, against his Oklahoma front? The matchup, Sharon Moore calling the plays offensively versus Brent Venables calling the plays defensively is my favorite matchup. And then the flip side of things, you got Arbuckle versus Wink on the defensive coordinator side. Those coordinator battles is going to be fun to see. But for me, I don't know if Bryce Underwood right now has the skill positions around him if the running game was to be able to stop. The tight end's always been something that Michigan's prided themselves on, but they've never really had those, not Jamar Chase, but those really top-tier wide receivers that can really help Bryce Underwood because he has the arm, the capability. He's not like what J.J. McCarthy was or what all those other quarterbacks before that didn't really have the arm talent like this guy does. The sky's the limit for him. But I like Mateer. I like Burks. I think Ott gets more carries this game. He didn't get a lot the first game, which I don't know if that's because maybe he's aiding an injury, or maybe they wanted to sit him out because it's Illinois State. They wanted to play him, get him ready for Michigan. But I think this Oklahoma defense, from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing with R. Mason Thomas and, Kip Lewis and what they have defensively, I trust what Brent Venables has. And it's wild the line moved from like 2.5 to 5.5 the first 2 days or 3 days of it being open. But I favor Oklahoma here. I think their schedule's so hard they have to win this game, and it's going to bolster their resume. I'm a big John Mateer guy. We talked Pac-12 After Dark earlier. Had a lot of games last year against San Jose State or whoever they were playing at Wazoo that he was playing in some big games, and he's a dual threat. I love the way he's hit the ball, the chemistry with Burks and Lewis in that game last week. But I think Oklahoma wins. I think they win and cover. I know it's kind of boring. I'm going all the favorites, but I went favorites last week. I thought, I thought Clemson was going to win. I thought Texas was going to win. Notre Dame, I thought, whoever, but Alabama, and they all lost. But I think this week, I think Oklahoma wins at home. I think the night game will get the best of Bryce Underwood.
And, dude, you're good, man. I mean, I went literally. I was 1-3 last week, so
it's
you're
tough,
fine.
Man. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, man. We didn't expect that week of college football to just be so chaotic, but I mean, you want nothing more, right? I mean, it's college football, right? So, the Michigan keys are pretty simple for me. I mean, you got to establish that running game with Justin Haynes and Jordan Marshall. I mean, they had 201 rushing yards versus New Mexico, dude. I mean, Justin Haynes is unbelievable. The Alabama transfer going to Michigan, unbelievable. And first game with Michigan against New Mexico, lights out. The thing that concerns me about OU is they gave up 117 rushing yards versus Illinois State. That's not a knock at Illinois State. I think that's just a concern of how good Michigan's running game is. And then where's that rushing defense and that running defense heading in to this game, right? So I think that's the concern. I think you would establish the run game for Michigan and keep on running the rock. Now, minimize the penalties because you got 8 penalties versus 65 yards versus New Mexico. Just kind of cut that down, especially in a very hostile environment. Week 2, going to be rocking, going to be packed. And then force turnovers, snag 3 interceptions versus New Mexico. So if you can get that deep, if you just rattle Mateer for some reason, or get Jaden Ott to fumble the ball, or somebody to fumble the ball, snag some turnovers, or throw a pick or two. If you can get Mateer to throw a pick, that'd be great. And snag some of those turnovers for that Michigan defense, and that could probably bolster their chances to win the ball game. Oklahoma keys for me: minimize turnovers. I would think 2 turnovers versus Illinois State's a little bit of a concern as well. They did start slow against Illinois State, so I would watch out for that. Slow down their running game and then win on third down. I mean, I think winning on third down is important in this game. Stay on the field, tire out that Michigan defense, and you have a shot at winning. Who do I got winning this game? I was leaning towards Michigan starting out because of that running defense. I changed my pick. I'm rocking with the Sooners. I think Oklahoma's going to win the ball game and find a way to win this game. It's going to be close. I think, to me, the difference will be between Underwood, under the bright lights, getting his first road start, and not only that, his second start in his career against an SEC team, raucous crowd in Norman. And I think Mateer, out of the 2, is going to be more experienced, more ready. The environment's going to favor him. I think Mateer's going to make a game-winning play, find a way to do it. Give me OU 34-31. Oklahoma 34, Michigan 31. I think they win the game and out of a game-winning touchdown and find a way to do it late. But Oklahoma wins the game 34-31.
I like that. Yeah, I don't know. For me, like Underwood, yeah, he's a freshman and it's his first start, but I also could see him like having a decent game, but making that one critical error late that just flips the momentum for Oklahoma. Like you said, like whether, like kind of like what Ty Simpson did where he was on the 4th and 7, he could have ran and he decided to throw it. Like I could see one of those happening where you kind of make that boneheaded decision and it just kind of flips the game for Oklahoma there. But all in all, I'm looking forward to this game, man. I think both programs, Oklahoma kind of being disrespected. They were picked, I think, 12th or 10th in the SEC poll, which was shocking. And then Michigan, one of those teams that I don't think it hurts Michigan. I think it hurts Oklahoma than it will hurt Michigan because I think Oklahoma's schedule is so hard where I think if they lose 3 games, they still have a good opportunity to make it, especially if they're like close games, not some blowouts or whatever. But for Michigan and Sharon Moore, it'd be a momentum. Either way, whoever wins this game is going to have a lot of momentum for the rest of the season. Having that big game on their win column, so I'm excited, man.
And it's really, we're fired up, man. We're fired up here at Pigskin Frenzy for week 2. Going to be an underrated week. Jackson Groff, thank you for joining us, man. I appreciate this, man. It was a lot of fun, dude.
Of course.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We're out of time, guys. So a big thank you for tuning in and taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by us. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with those and follow us on there as well. X and Instagrams at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow all the pages there. You're going to get news and highlights from across college football and just some fun takes from me in general. Guys, the website's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Big thank you for Jackson Groff for tuning in, coming in, and taking some time, and also telling his story, and to be our Week 2 guest picker. Next week's going to be great. We're going to recap all these Pigskin Frenzy games. We're also going to have a very special guest for Week 3 next Thursday. We'll announce that on Tuesday. Guys, we're thankful for you all. We love you all. We're thankful for our Lord and Jesus for giving us this platform to do this show. We could not do this show without him. We give him all the praise for this. Guys, we love you all. We're praying for you all. Have a great rest of your weekend and rest of your day. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you all. Praying for you all. Stay the course.